then I just covered it with a tiny cover slip. So this is how I got these images. And just for other scientists and doctors maybe watching, this is probably the technique that they use, because this is how we get taught. Just to mention that I'm not a particle expert at all. I'm not a biochemist. I don't know what I'm looking at. I'm just reporting what I'm seeing. And then,
it would be advantageous if somebody would come forward who has that expertise. But what you're seeing here appears to be this round black disc with metal connectors. So what kind of feedback have you gotten from other experts with whom you have shared this?
So a lot of the other structures that I've been showing was done by using this technique. And when I shared it with a couple of other experts, I think because I haven't used this technique, they're not kind of seeing this. But yeah, nobody's really come out forward and saying, yes, this is what it is. Everybody agrees that it's not natural. It's too structured to be anything biological. So I think that's the consensus. But I have not gotten, a 100%. Nobody's really come out and said, yes, this is what it is. There's some speculation, but I don't like to speculate at all. But these were self-assembling. I have a video of it, which I didn't share now with your viewers, but they were self-assembling, which was very strange. And so I did one at a lower magnification, and then I did one at a higher magnification, and now we're looking at the discs. And really, if anyone can explain what this is, and this I did by not covering the vial. I actually just put a droplet and I put it under my microscope without covering it. And I think that's when maybe other people will start to see these type of structures as well. People doing microscopy will maybe be able to also see these same things.
So this is just one droplet from the vial. You're seeing all of this stuff. And you said that you don't think that these look biologic, but that they look more engineered. Can you say more about that? What do you mean by that?
Well, I mean, they're very symmetrical, and they seem to be joined together. I can just say what I'm seeing. I'm not sure what to make of it. If anybody has seen this before, then I would also like to know what it is. But I did about 4 samples, and I saw this in each and every sample. I took it from the same vial, but I checked it 4 times. And then when these black structures, when the sample dried, and this is another technique, is I just left the sample on the slide, and it just dried. And then I came back and I looked at it, and then these disc-like structures have they're gone. You can't find them anymore. But these black lines started to form. So that's the next thing I saw. And again, I wish I could tell you what it is, but I'm not a specialist in molecules or in particles. But
you've been examining live and dry blood for an extended period of time. How long have you been doing this?
15 years.
And in the 15 years that you have been doing this, have you ever seen anything like this?
Nothing.
And the only thing consistent about the blood that you are seeing these structures in is that these are patients who have received these shots being called COVID vaccines.
Yes.
Okay. Let me ask you this. Is it possible that these are air bubbles?
So I actually had a discussion because I wanted to find out what it is. So I went and I looked at some air bubble structures, which were that looked similar, but most of the doctors that came back to me said, they are too symmetrical to just be air bubbles. They're very symmetrical. They're so uniform. But I wish I could really put a stamp on it and tell you what it is, but I'm not sure.
Okay,
I'm not sure what it is.
Doctors that have examined or looked at your findings have said, no, these are too symmetrical, which would substantiate what you had already said, that these appear to be engineered, whatever this thing is. These black discs with some sort of a metal-looking connector is what I think I'm looking at here. I mean, does that appear to be metal to you? I mean, I don't know. You tell me.
Well, when I did the dark field, these particles did reflect. So I'm not sure what to make of it because they are reflective, and I can just, in layman's terms, say they look engineered to me. If I'm not sure.
You've seen air bubbles before.
In the blood analysis, yeah.
And these air bubbles are typically not held together by metal connectors or things that shine, I would imagine, which is what we're seeing here. So what kinds of illnesses are people suffering from that these very strange structures appear in their blood, in their bodies?
I see severe thrombosis, severe embolisms and water retention, cognitive issues, lots of cognitive issues, everything from memory loss to depression. I see patients with blood clots confirmed by an ultrasound, just lots of pain at the injection site, loss of movement from that arm that it was injected, severe headaches lasting longer than 8 weeks, and lots of mobility and pain, nerve pain. People have been experiencing shortness of breath, but then when I look at the bloods, I understand why there is shortness of breath, because the red blood cells cannot transport oxygen when they look like that. And even when I put the oximeter on to test the oxygen saturation, it's low, it's at 89. I mean, so it's not just looking at the blood, there's a physical manifestation of the symptoms.
So these people have low oxygen?
Very well, there's low oxygen, there is blood clotting, there's red blood cell aggregation, there's non-viable white blood cells, so the immunity cannot respond the way it should to viruses and bacteria and infections.
Which might explain these breakthrough cases or this Delta variant, where all of these COVID patients seem to be those who are, quote, fully vaccinated. No, they're injured by these shots, is what they are.
I do agree with that. I would like to, maybe if you can just show the viewers, these black structures are not the only structures that I saw. When the sample dried and I looked at it again, I found these strange square-like discs as well, and they were definitely reflective, and they had a very specific structure. So I was, like Dr. Kerry Day, when I watched her interview, and she said, I cry. I do the same. I cry when I see these things. I cry when I see these patients. Just today, I was just seeing patients who had, vaccine injury. They're being told it's not from that, and they're planning to take their children for the vaccine. And I just do my utmost best and say, please, please don't take your children for this. Because I see those patients. I'm not removed. I'm not a scientist that's just reporting. I've got to deal with these patients that are being ignored. They're not getting medical help the way they should. They're being told they got a placebo effect. I mean, I'm seeing a patient tomorrow. He had 8 heart attacks in 5 hours after he was chosen to be one of the rollout vaccine kind of guinea pigs. I mean, he's been in hospital since March. He couldn't get he had to have a triple bypass. He couldn't go in because he was testing positive for COVID all the time. He spent months in ICU, and he's coming to me tomorrow because he's not feeling well. He's still fighting for his life, and I hope I can help him.
I pray that you can help him as well. That's awful.
Thank you.
So we've talked about shedding, we've talked about transmission, we've talked about people who are not injected being around inoculated people and actually feeling symptomatic in a lot of different ways. What about actually after handling this material? Did you experience any kind of ill side effects after being around this exposed material?
Yeah, interesting. I do. I don't feel well, and actually spoke to other doctors, And one doctor also said to me, you know what, I was in surgery for 2 hours, and I saw about 7 patients, and I wasn't feeling great. And the next day I was seeing a lot of patients as well. And then I asked my receptionist to actually phone those patients and ask them if they had the injection. So, because we had similar symptoms, like a weird sensation in my brain. It felt like it was almost shaking, vibrating. I had anxiety, which I don't normally experience. I'm a very logical person, so I rationalize stuff and then I get over it. And I saw a lot of weird hormonal issues just with myself. And when I spoke to my other colleague, she says, it's the strangest thing. I'm experiencing exact same hormonal issues as you. So yeah, and even working, so even being in contact with these patients and also working with this, apart from the shock, I definitely wasn't experiencing good symptoms at all.
Wow.
When I started to drink a couple of, so I've worked out a protocol and I've been giving it to patients that have had the vaccine that is not feeling well. I need to stop calling it a vaccine, I know. And when I started to drink those things like the NAC, the glutathione, I'm drinking zeolite, I'm doing molecular hydrogen ozone therapy, then I started to feel better.
Okay, so have your inoculated patients also experienced a positive benefit from this particular protocol? Because people are desperate. There's a lot of people with this remorse after they've been subjected to this jab. Is it helping them as well?
It is helping them as well. So people have been coming in, the headaches have been getting better, blood clotting is also better. So I do also give something for blood clotting depending on their symptoms. If it's more cognitive stuff, then I focus on that. But everybody's blood is clamping. So, my philosophy is life is in the gut and in the blood. And Stu, I know you also love God and you serve God. And my first thing is that I say to my patients, when you repent, when you say, God, I'm sorry, I didn't know, I was deceived, come help me. He's faithful and he will do that. And then we do the treatments as well.
Yeah, God is probably really the only treatment that all of us have right now for any symptom, whether it's due to an injection or not. I just received a text actually from a personal friend of mine who's aware that I have this show. He said, my aunt is in the hospital, 3rd round of vaccine shots, struggling with the quote corona effect. Will you refresh my memory on, let's say, the top 3 things one can do to reverse or fight the vaccine symptoms? My short-term memory is horrible, and I don't have time to look into my research because I'm in a skid loader right now. So can you email over to me that protocol, that concoction, those things that you have, so that I can make them available to the Stu Peters Show viewers at stupeters.tv?
100%.
And can they also find this on your website at drzandrebatha.com?
I'll have to put it on there so that people can order it. But I know, it's all over the world, so I'm going to give the main remedies. Some you'll probably not find everywhere, but these things are working.
Okay.
And they are readily available. So no need to buy it from us. You can try and find it in the local country that you are.
Great. And we'll put those things at stupeters.tv immediately following this interview. Dr. Batha, thank you so much for your bravery and for reporting this. And we need to find an expert that can now take your findings and opine on specifically what is this? What is this that we are looking at? So if there's any experts out there watching this, we want to hear from you. God bless you, and thank you so much for your bravery.
You are so welcome.
Amazing and horrific, never before seen images there provided by Dr. Zandre Batha. We will put those things that help her injected patients at stupeters.tv. So if you're watching this on any other platform, go to stupeters.tv, look for this interview in the description below. That will be there. People who are around injected people who are trying to fight this off, people who are trying to stay healthy and avoid these chimerically engineered viruses. you should go to zstackprotocol.com. This is a formula that was developed by Dr. Zev Zelenko. He saved 99.9% of his high-risk COVID patients in upstate New York, thousands of lives. A nominee for the Presidential Medal of Freedom and the Nobel Prize, Dr. Zev Zelenko. He is a genius and believes in early treatment protocols. You can find what he has put together at zstackprotocol.com. Now, you can go to the drugstore on your own and put these things together. There's a multitude of them. You're going to have a whole bunch of bottles, but you can do it on your own. I'm not saying that you have to buy from Dr. Zelenko by any means. But if you don't want to deal with the dosing and all these multiple bottles, he provides this in a one-pill formula that you can find at zstackprotocol.com. Again, zstackprotocol.com. More of the Stu Peters Show right now.
Уважаеми зрители, видяхте още едно видеоматериал. Разговор за теми, които в медиите няма как да попаднат. И затова ви ги показваме в рубриката От мрежата. Този разговор няма как да го чуем в ефира, на която идея от многомилионните медии, които иначе имат ресурса да занимават